Hi. The year 2020 is going to be remembered as the year of COVID-19. Well, joining me today on Spiritual Invitation is Chrystyne McGrath, and we're going to talk about the spiritual implications of COVID-19. Now, Chrystyne was with us on episodes 70 and 71, where she talked about the paranormal and mediumship. And also she was with us on episode 74, where we talked why some souls come to Earth for just a very short time. Now, Chrystyne offers many services. She has a tremendous resume, and she's well known for her ghost tours. You can get a current schedule of the tours, as well as see all the services that she offers on her website at ChrystyneMcGrath.com. Chrystyne, hi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
This was one of these very impromptu episodes we decided to have because you and I were just talking, and you brought up a wonderful story about a police officer that you observed. And would you share with everybody
I
what
would
that
love
is?
to.
Yeah.
So I do the New Haven Ghost Tours. We meet on Chapel Street. I've been doing them for over 7 years, and I'm there by myself waiting for my group at night, and I witnessed the most amazing acts of compassion by the New Haven police officers. You know, I'll be by myself and I'll witness this. There's a police officer who rides a bike, and he'll pull over and he'll address a homeless person by their name and say, "How are you? Are you hungry? Are you okay?" And he goes around checking on people, and he's so real and grounded and normal with these homeless people, whether they're mentally ill or they have a drug issue. They know how to communicate with them, and it's amazing to watch it.
Yeah.
And I'm by myself witnessing all this before my tour comes. And so many nights I'll be driving home 2 hours later thinking about that police officer was amazing.
It's like above and beyond.
Above and
what
beyond
you
that
think
no one sees.
That no one sees.
I witness things that no one sees, and that's what sticks with me on my way home. Yeah, and the other day I was in New Haven, I drove in, and someone was holding up a sign, "Defund the police." And I was sick to my stomach.
Yes.
I was sick. People, you can't generalize the entire police department for one person's doing. It just doesn't make sense.
I know what you mean. It's concerning because here we are. You first came on the show in January 2020, and now it's June. The studio opened up, and here we are. But in the midst, everybody throughout the whole world has experienced COVID-19 with all the shutdowns and everything that's happened. And then that eventually segued into the riots and a lot of unrest that's going on. And so you're referring to kind of a movement that's happening, as we're hearing a lot about defund the police. And it's concerning on a spiritual level because we're forgetting about the good that people do. I mean, I was sharing with you, I had a concern because they were talking about protests happening in our area, and I had called the police department to see if it was true. And he was just the sweetest man, explaining to me that don't worry, they've got a plan, and if there's any problems, and I thought, why would I ever get rid of this? Why would I ever want to defund this? And I think whether you're living in a town or a city, yes, we did see the actions of one police officer, several police officers. That was very horrific, and everybody agrees to that. But there's good police officers in the city. There's brave souls. I mean, we saw it on 9/11. I mean, there's brave, good people. So what do you think's going on spiritually? Like, we're just lumping everybody in and saying, one bad apple, let's throw out the whole bag of apples.
We can't generalize an entire profession. I mean, if you look at any profession, there's bad eggs anywhere.
There are.
Especially in my industry, of all things.
Well, right, being a
Look at my
psychic and a
industry.
medium.
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
right.
There's horrific people
Right.
in my profession.
And it
Horrible.
brings it down, right?
And it brings it down, but it doesn't mean we're all
reputation.
bad.
No, right.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
And people are so visual. You know, they get a visual in their head, and then they want to generalize everyone in that profession is like that.
Yeah.
And that's when we need to step back and connect with our higher selves and say, I'm going to use my own judgment, my own intuition and guidance, and shut off the news.
Right.
Shut it off.
Shut it off.
Yeah,
right.
people are detaching from their gifts and their higher self and God. Mm-hmm. They really are.
And is that what's happening? Because it's just, how did we go from, witnessing, which we will, right, on the news, it happens, witnessing something that was terrible, and that there will be consequences for that individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's law and order.
Of course.
To let's not respect the entire profession. How did we? What is
fear.
that spiritually?
It has to do with fear.
It's
You know,
fear.
when we bring fear in, fear, is false ego appearing real.
Right.
That's what it stands for. And we go into the brain when we're fearful. Our auric field goes down, the protective energy around us. We lose that. And then we go into the ego, is edging God out. And
Yeah,
there's a
I like
huge
that.
disconnect with God right now, with a lot of people due to fear.
Okay. All right. So people are grabbing onto their fears and they're edging God out. That's a
Yes.
good, kind of a good visual.
That's exactly what's going on.
All right. So do you think we'll say something around the George Floyd and the police officer, and is it? Yes, it is something to be very disturbed about and angry about and offended and all of this. But what's the intensity that comes up? Is people?
Exposure.
You know.
So now we have, there's a lot of exposure going on, which is
Okay.
wonderful. You know, we want to expose things that are out there, but we can't stereotype an entire profession over it.
Right, right.
So that's where we use our own judgment. You know, during COVID, we were told a lot of things. Do this, do that, stay inside, do this. And a lot of it, we lost our power within that.
Yes, we did.
And so we
yeah.
jumped out going into rioting,
Oh, so it's really
protests. And so now we're out
Yeah,
of our
that's a
power.
good
What is, we're not in our full power.
That's a good point. So could it possibly be a lot of this is frustration when we're seeing with riots? Because yes, there are peaceful demonstrators, but I have children that live in major cities, and it is not peaceful. I can say firsthand, it's awful what's going on in some cities. The murders and the disruption, and it's just terrible, destruction and all of that, terrible chaos and violence. And so, is that frustration from or anger? Do you think, from being shut down?
It's ramped up because if you look at the timing of it,
yeah.
Notice the timing of it.
Yeah,
People were
okay,
home
right.
for 2 months.
Yeah.
They were without a job for 2 months. They had to, accept being on unemployment for 2 months, and they felt powerless. So you have to take that. There was a lot of trauma going on.
There's a lot of trauma. I mean, we really had, I think on a spiritual level, our free will was taken away during all of this.
Absolutely.
That we did not have the choice of, do you want to shelter in place? Do you want to not go to your job? Do you want to not see family? We didn't have a choice. We were told that we had to, and that's a spiritual.
Yeah.
Right.
It affects our free will.
Yeah, it's more than civil liberties. It was definitely civil liberties, but
right.
But it affects our free will.
And now we have the great divide of those who are, I don't want to wear a mask. It's my right not to. And then we have the people, don't come near me if you're not with a mask.
And then the vaxxing. Vaxxing. I'll never vax. Well, then you won't. But you have to vax, or you can't work at a place if you don't. And it's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff that it's stirring up so much.
And we have to realize, you know what, we are on one planet and we're all human. We're not divided. We're all human beings and we're all the same. We're all one.
Yeah.
And this has split us.
We've lost this.
You know, we're in fractions now.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the opposite of God.
What's going on now?
It's the complete opposite of God.
Yeah, it does feel a lot, not to be dramatic, but it does feel like a battle between good and evil going on here.
It definitely is.
You know, and beyond, and I'm not referring to people necessarily, it's just almost going beyond that, that's impacting people to behave certain ways or to think certain ways.
Absolutely. It's the energy, and then we have retrograde. Now we have earthly things such as four planets being in retrograde for the month of June.
Which means what? I don't know.
So, you know, it's if we weren't having all of this chaos in the world, it would be a normal transition of, oh, I'm going to purge this, and I want to manifest that. So, you know, this isn't, you know, some people are like, I can't purge right now. I'm not in a good headspace to purge.
Right.
Or tap into that spiritual vibe of, you know, I need to break up with that person to be in a better place. People, you know, it's hard to be in that headspace right now. To see the bigger picture.
To see the bigger picture of what's really, to be in touch with what's going on.
Yes.
You mean within yourself.
Within yourself and how you're ascending as a soul.
So how do you think it impacted, you know, COVID-19? How on a spiritual level, you know, I mean, we were told what we were told, and there was a lot of unknowns, and of course everybody wants to stay safe, and they were trying to minimize the amount of deaths, but then it stretched out, and it went longer than people thought, and so what's surfaced?
A lot of exposure surfaced.
Okay, when you say exposure.
Exposure. So, you know, people are working all day and they don't see their loved ones except for 2 hours at night.
Okay.
And now they're stuck home all day, 24 hours a day with their spouse going, I don't think I like you. I don't think we're good together.
Yeah.
Or these young couples who want to have a baby and say, I don't want to have a baby with that person because I really don't think they'd make a good parent. And so a lot of exposure came out of being stuck at home and analyzing and truths that you can't hide from.
Right.
It all came out.
It all came out. So it's a good thing?
Yes.
Okay, it's a good thing. So the exposure was a good thing.
It was a really good thing.
Because maybe people are meant to go on a different path?
Absolutely.
Or what do you think?
A lot of people who aren't tapped into spirituality are stuck. And they just live every day hoping, you know, oh, I hope my work day goes by. I hope it's nighttime. I hope they're not in the present moment. And so they keep wanting to jump to the future. And they're missing out on what's happening at that moment.
All right.
And this taught us, stay in it now. Stay in this moment. You're forced to be present rather than jumping out of that.
So do you think this was part of a divine plan in a way? To make people reflect?
I think it benefited a lot of people.
So there's a silver lining to all of this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we have these 7 exit points in our blueprint, and a lot of people took one of their 7 exit points to step out during COVID.
All right, so you mentioned this in the last episode, so talk a little bit about that, the 7 exit points you call
So we
them?
have exit points where we're allowed to leave.
All right.
And go to the other
it's
side.
It's understood, even if it's not on a conscious level
it's
for
understood
us,
on
that
the
we
soul
can,
level.
So we could die at 30, we could die at 50, we could die at 75, we could die at so forth, so on.
Absolutely.
And how does that come about then? It's just because we've had enough? Or what?
It's part of a divine plan.
All right.
You know, if I leave now, something will come out of it.
Okay.
Something I'll be able to help within a soul being. I'll help on Earth.
Okay.
There's so many different scenarios.
You'll be able to help other people,
Absolutely.
the others in your life that remain.
Absolutely.
Okay. Or just even a lesson. I mean, I think of how, to give an example, it was just really so horrific how many people in nursing homes died because of
it's horrible.
Very bad policy. And I tried to go to that place a little bit. I mean, I pray for them.
Yes.
And their families. But I try to go to that place of, are you doing this as a lesson for all of us, that this is not the way we treat our seniors?
Absolutely.
You know, we could have done better.
You're going to see healthcare change because of it.
Okay.
And the way these senior homes are run,
Yes.
you're going to see a huge difference.
A huge difference.
Absolutely.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they really could have lived another
Yes.
5 or 10
Absolutely.
years, but then they opted to be to be that one. So that's what you mean by an exit point. So during all of this COVID, this was an opportunity or time for people to go.
Yes.
All right. Especially when you hear unusual cases, like the very young, like it did seem to mostly affect the elderly and people with pre-existing. But
Right.
every once in a while you'd hear about a 30-year-old that,
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense.
and it doesn't make any sense.
They should
to
have
this.
a good immune system.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And so it could be just everything up above, like we were talking in the last episode, that is just kind of meant to be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what else did you see, and even continue to see with COVID? Because you were talking a little bit in your practice. You said you said you were very busy.
I was very busy
during this whole time.
I had to work every day.
You didn't shut down.
I did
right?
not shut down.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you saw.
A lot of my New York clients became suicidal.
All right, this is
And it was tragic.
hard,
It
yeah.
was very, very
This is
tragic. They didn't know how to deal with having their power taken away.
right.
And
This
a lot
was
of them
huge, wasn't
it was
it?
huge.
It's another thing to understand and to balance. Yes, we want to keep people safe, but we don't want to take their power away.
Right.
And their free will away. And it's devastating. Like, it's just played out in front of us. This is devastating to do this.
And exposure to mental health is very
Yes.
important.
Yes.
So
yes.
hopefully we'll get funding for mental health, which is it's got to be analyzed, and insurance has got to cover these particular issues.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. More aggressively addressed mental
Yeah.
health issues. So specifically in your practice, so what were you seeing? People were calling you, and just like they're at the end of the rope.
Yeah,
I mean,
they felt hopeless.
They felt hopeless.
They felt hopeless. And it was, this 2-month period, a lot of people, it felt like a year. It felt very long to them, and they didn't
Yeah.
like being secluded, having to receive help financially.
Right.
They felt, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And it was nothing that they did. They had to analyze their lives and their actions being home. And it made a lot of people depressed about where they are right now. But it's almost a gift. Now you can change it up.
Okay, so it's almost like it slowed people down. You had to, right? You put on the brakes, slow down. You're stuck at home. You can't go out. You can't socialize. You can't see friends, family, and you can't go to work. All of these things that make us feel good about ourselves, give us meaning in our life, help define it in some aspects of ourselves. And so people were forced to do their inner work, really,
Absolutely.
right?
Look at the trauma that has happened during their lives. Looking at, their actions or things that have happened to them. And they felt belittled by it, never worked on it. And it was all coming up. It was all because they had to face it.
Yeah.
The awareness of their past and who's around me right now. And I don't like it. And having the ability to change that. It all came up. It was all exposed.
Everything came up.
Everything was exposed. Yeah.
Wow, that's really something. I feel like I also feel like at times that the degree of fear, and I'm someone who's suffered from a lot of fear during my life, and it's something I fight, right? So I have complete empathy when people are feeling fearful. It's a terrible feeling.
It is awful.
And but what I seemed to witness was, and some people it surprised me that I know to the level of their fear, And it just made me wonder, was this something more than the virus? What do you think? Was it something more coming out? Because as we went along, it just feels like the amount of fear compared to, I felt, and I'm not, please understand, viewers, I'm not belittling this at all. I'm just trying to explain a point. But it almost felt like to the level of fear that there was, you would think that you were looking out your window and people were just dropping right dead on the ground,
Exactly.
And it wasn't. And I think the media had a lot to flame the fires,
Yes.
right? The media had a lot to do with this.
Yes.
Media was disappointing.
We need to see that the media controls our thoughts.
That's
and we need
spooky.
to detach from that.
Yeah, that's spooky.
There were a lot of major court cases that would have been aired that weren't.
Yes.
Because of the rioting, and all they would show us is the rioting, not these huge
Other things
trials
going on
that were going on that we should have been watching.
That we should have been aware of.
And of course, so that just shows us the control, the mind control that we're put under.
Yes, that gets a little spooky. I mean,
Yes.
that definitely gets spooky, the mind control, and especially if we don't even realize that we're being controlled. I mean, I found I couldn't listen to any press conferences. I'd like Twitter, and I would go get the highlights from people that I like about what they were saying, but I couldn't take the constant. It was like this underlying, we're all going to die, we're all going to die, we're all going to die, aren't we? We're all going to die, we're going to die, and it was just, oh my gosh, can we talk about the people who are recovering? Can we talk about the antivirals out there? Can we talk about building the immune system? Can we talk about the positive things? Can we talk about how to stay in touch with our loved ones given all this? Can we talk about when this can end? Instead it was this it's going to keep going. It was just a pounding.
It was a pounding, and they made it very visual. And it still is very visual.
Yes.
So,
it continues.
it's stepping out of that, stepping aside, pulling back and say, I'm going to use my own judgment on this. I'm not going to fall into this. I'm not going to be a puppet.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And on a normal year, we have influencers.
Yes.
That influence us to buy products, have certain patterns. So on a normal year, we have to become aware of influencers and the media. And now we have this, and I have to do this and that. So it's being more internal than on the external.
Right. Going back to how do I feel, right? Being connected to yourself, and does this feel right to me?
Exactly.
What do I need to do? Am I somebody that needs to take extra caution for something like this? Am I somebody, do I agree with this? Do I, do your own research? I found myself just researching this like crazy all over, just all over the world, because I felt like I wasn't getting answers from our own journalists and TV programs, and I felt like I wasn't getting the truth.
You weren't, and they were reporters being dictated to, being handed
the script,
and so they're
they
just
were all
saying
saying the same thing.
It's not coming from them.
It's right.
And so, with this, you have to build your own toolbox. You have a toolbox, and what tools do you need within that? So, a lot of people, I show them how to do tapping, emotional freedom technique, where we hit the pressure points and we release. Some people, it's smelling an oil, a candle, a color. Getting back to whatever your senses connect with. You need to create your toolbox and put everything in that.
And
and remind yourself, I'm going to step away, and I'm not going to judge what tool I need today. But today I need a scent. I need a beautiful visual. Just knowing that.
I need to say a prayer.
A prayer.
I need to say a prayer.
A meditation.
I need to, ask God, hey, I'm not feeling grounded. I'm not feeling at peace. Am I right?
Exactly.
And what I am thinking. I mean, I found myself questioning that and asking God, just, am I right in my thinking? Should I be more alarmed about this? What should I do? And I think that's what's got me so concerned in our culture now, is that I think there's something out there that we're trying to disconnect us from each other and ultimately with God, with our relationship with God. Just listen to the politician, listen to the newscaster, listen to just something negative, and not, I don't know. I thought that was the creepier thing. I guess
the
I'm
evil.
saying
The evil.
that was the evil.
The evil.
I wasn't afraid of the virus.
Right.
I thought we should be very concerned and all of that, but I wasn't afraid of the virus. I kept trying to say to people, I'm concerned what this is doing to us. And it's disconnecting us. I mean, you can't go see your family.
Exactly.
You can't go to church.
And these poor little kids, these beautiful children, couldn't interact with their friends.
No.
And it was horrible.
For months, they're cut off from all their friends.
They're cut off from their joy.
Their relationships, from their joy.
All their joy. Joy was taken away from a lot of people.
Yes,
And that, to me, that's so evil.
Yeah.
It's evil.
I think so too.
So learning, coming out of this, learning what you need to fuel your spirit.
Yes.
Some people, I need to connect with Mother Earth. I need to go in the woods and hike.
Yes.
I need to bike. Or I need to go to a church and pray.
Right.
You have to figure out what works for you.
Yes, right.
And so this defined that for a lot of people.
Right. And not looking out, looking within. What does this mean to me? What does this call? Because there were a lot of silver linings. There were people that are maybe taking another career path. Maybe they are moving on from a relationship they're meant to move on.
Yes.
To move on from. We should, I guess, maybe all look for the positive.
Absolutely.
Of this in our life, but then still be aware of our spiritual right.
How did you become better, and what part of my body went off when I knew that was false? And paying attention to, it's my solar plexus. It's that space in between my rib cage. People call it their gut.
Yes.
It's your third chakra.
Yes.
And they say, my gut didn't feel right when I heard that. Well, that's your power and that's truth.
Yeah.
And trusting that from now on.
And trusting it from now on.
Trusting it.
Right.
From within.
Mm-hmm. What makes sense to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and hold on to that,
Cherish it and be grateful that you have that gift. We all have it.
Yes.
Every human being has that.
Yes, yes.
And this is the time to connect with it.
And connect for that. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad we talked about this.
I am too.
And bringing in, I don't ever want spirituality, that's my mission. I don't ever want spirituality to lose itself, or, and I want everybody to understand that connection to self and that free will that we all have. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Pleasure. So we're going to be having Chrystyne's contact information up on the screen in just a moment. Check your local listing to when this program will be aired again. You can always go to YouTube, type my name into the search, and all the programs come up. Please subscribe to my channel. Also, if you go to carlaaugustine.com, I have my programs also listed there and all my contact information. So I want to thank you so much for watching. This has been Spiritual Invitation. I'm your host, Carla Augustine, inviting you to explore spirituality. Thank you. Wow. We're on the cusp of something.
Yes.
This is so fun.
Isn't it wonderful?
This is so fun.
I love it.
This is like my intro.
Love.
Honestly, I want to take this further. I want to I do this program with